What's being said in Dinarland December 21, 2016 from Adam Montana, RayRen 98, Delta and KTFA Frank 26. From Adam Montana. I have seen many articles stating that there is about 30 trillion dinar in chunky cash, under the mattress, inside Iraq. How is possible for the CBI to increase the dinar exchange rate with 30 trillion dinars inside Iraq? That figure gets thrown around a lot, but there's no way to prove or know who has that physical cash or where it actually is. Regardless, I can put that worry to rest very quickly. How much of that money is in large bills? A lot. And how quickly could the CBI declare large notes null and void? It could easily be done in 30 days. Now, of that 30 trillion in cash that is floating around, how much of that is held by people who are wanted for crimes? How much of it is simply lost, out of the country, held in a safe somewhere and simply will not be able to be cashed, before the large notes are declared dead? I think it stands to reason that an easy 50% of that number will simply vanish and not have any influence on what the CBI is liable for during the cash-in phase. There is a lot more to say about it, but that's a good starting point. Bottom line for me is that cash number doesn't concern me at all. From RayRen 98. Everything in Iraq looking extremely well and moving right along. On Monday 2 banks were now buying and selling dinar. Rates not favorable but capability was there. This was a 180-degree turn. A powerful thing to happen for what we were looking for. An international traded currency. That needed to take place. Now, just looking for the value to change. This is a strong indication. Now 5 banks and possibly 6 banks. We've checked and rechecked these 5 banks. Current window, banks, have information circulating to them to be ready to exchange customers before Christmas. If it's not by Christmas, I expect it 1 or 2 days after. We waited for it to be international. For all intents and purposes that is done. Now we are waiting on the rates. From FRANK26, greetings family, welcome to another one of your conference calls at KTFalways.com. Every human being wants to be recognized, if not as an individual, at least by their efforts. Yesterday, my KTFA family, you guys moved me, blew me out of the water. I was filled with great joy. I tend to wear my emotions on my sleeve, both of them. Yesterday was my birthday, so many of you blew up my phone. I don't know how many calls/messages were left. You do realize that when you send me a text, that some forget to include your names. Happy to see so many old-timers. I have come to know you by your postings/avatars. I know you. God willing, someday we will meet. Looking forward to squeezing the toothpaste out of you when we meet. Thanks for making my birthday extremely special. The last time we were together, I gave you some homework. We are looking for a set of numbers that would allow the IQD rate to move forward. That was a very, very profound statement. This whole CC is in my opinion. We did talk about the budget, and we believe that the budget was signed, now in a position to be fueled like a rocket sitting on a launch pad. The 2017 budget is signed, but if it's not fueled properly, it won't accomplish anything. The usage of its own currency is needed. It must have the freedom of movement. These things are done. That's as in our strong opinion. We showed you many banks that are now selling the IQD. Dear God, the restrictions of their currency are amazing. Where will the fuel come from? Loans, from the IMF, World Bank, investors with their currency. The oil price is a big factor. The price of oil is not the only factor, but is the largest factor, historically, and for the first time it is signed and ready to launch based on certain numbers. We told you. 48 hours ago, as a team, we have calculated the numbers that are necessary that must be in the budget. I asked many on our forum for their opinions of the budget numbers. Very proud of your opinions. Today, WTI was 52.60. Brent 55.25. That budget is down to the point where it has been calibrated with some very, very scientific instruments. Just like an engineer measures for precision. I believe this is a good illustration as to what is going on with the budget right now. These calculations are so laser-like focused, the oil prices in December will climb to around 60, and in 3 months, around March 2017, we should see it in 100 to 120 range, then in the summer it will go back down around 60. The budget needs to maintain itself somewhere around 60. Stranger, member on our forum, mentioned the 60/120/60. Interesting. Have you noticed that oil prices are going up? Are they on schedule for this budget? On Monday, I expressed IMO, they are completing the RI, and I believe in all honesty this happened this past week. When the RI occurred this last week, Iraq was taken out of timeout and brought back into the international club. I believe that the float for the IQD started a long time ago. This budget is very close to being released. Calculations are to the point to where the budget is going to work. A formula has been calculated, instruments have done their job. Our teams have calculated a number, this number is what we are looking for with Brent and WTI oil. Wouldn't it be wonderful if this was our last conference call? In order to see the budget calculated, the first numbers will remove the deficit in Iraq. The number we came up with, IOO, will maintain the 1-to-1 rate. There is another set of numbers. Total of 3, by the way. These numbers will deal with the budget paying its bills/loans. It is part of a float, but the float will catapult the price of oil even further. The first numbers will deal with the debt/deficit that they have. The second set of numbers will pay for their bills. These numbers are already out. You know they want to come out at 1-to-1. There are contracts/commodities/infrastructure. In our opinion, the rate in those contracts is the second set of numbers we calculated. What is the second set of numbers? They are my numbers. Have they reached these numbers? Have you seen the budget yet? No. Neither of these numbers have been reached, yet. The number of the oil in the contract is what matters. The first set of numbers should be in the budget at 1-to-1. For 3 months, this is why we have told you to wait for around 3 months before you exchange the bulk of your currency. The float that goes into the second set of numbers, that goes into the contracts. The third set of number. Towards the end of 3 months, these deal with the numbers that are capped. Those are my numbers. Write this down, as oil floats, the rate will also float. Probably no need for any other conference calls. These numbers sound good, but you don't know the formula, the internet doesn't know it. These numbers are tied in with the 17th, 18th, and 19th. We now have calculated new numbers for the budget because IT was signed. We tell you there are new prices for the barrel of oil now. It will get harder for many to understand, because it's becoming harder to get information, the info has become very profound, behind closed doors, numbers needed for the budget. The price of oil can go past these numbers that we have estimated. No doubt, there are 3 sets of them. The first ones, 1-to-1. The second ones, in the contracts. The third, represent the capped numbers. I'd like for you to draw. At this point of the call, Frank showed a hand-drawn illustration, and asked me not to include that illustration nor the conversation about it. Here's one more opinion. By Monday, Brent oil will be around $65. You can figure this out, can't you? IMO, based on the numbers we are calculating, it will be before Christmas. Should we worry about Mosul? No. We've always said that it's not part of the MR, but Mosul is not under the same operational status. It is a serious situation, but not vital for the MR. IMO, the banks in the USA are ready or are in position to exchange the IQD at whatever rate it wants to be. Someone called me, they called Citibank, they said they are not exchanging the IQD yet, but the guy on the phone said they are waiting for an update on the rate. What is our time study? December 20th to December 26th. Today is Wednesday, then Thursday, nah. But then there is Friday into Saturday. Oh buddy. Then there is Sat into Sunday. Ta-da. Again, there will be no fanfare, but you will be able to see the rate, in any time zone after 2 p.m. I'd like to say that the budget was signed, and you're going to see the budget active on December 31st, 2016. This week is an interesting week. I'd love for the doors of the IQD to open for an increase. You have to have an increase for the investors to come into Iraq. The investors will start from the outside in. They may take 3 days, let's see. 0. There is no date on the calendar that is hotter than that date on that calendar. There is a target date for 2016 and 2017, the oil prices may take us that far. Please be fair. Look at Brent oil more than WTI, because it's a lower grade. Mosul is now nothing more than a single manhunt for Baghdadi. Nothing to talk about. They are looking for a large group of jihads on the west side. As far as Mosul goes, it's a sniper convention. The accuracy of today's intel is like a sniper. Our teams do not miss nowadays. You'll hear about Kurdistan, but not until after December 26, 2016, nothing to do with the RV. Our study. December 20th to 26th. I'm sure you have great notes, but listen carefully, this info came about due to my teams, our snipers. The budget will be activated on the 31st. If they do, they will need a rate, somewhere between December 20th to 26th. Then watch in the next 3 months the RV evolve into the float. They will end with a cap. They talk so much about a 1-to-1, so do we. The Minister of Planning and Finance talked about a rate back in 2012, which would have taken it to $3.86, but they weren't ready. What are the contract numbers that we talked about? When they raise the rate, it will fly, and be controlled. In Kuwait, it got up to $13, it got out of hand. I wish I had the time to explain so many things to you, but I'm sorry. I just can't. It will be further controlled with a cap so that it doesn't get out of hand like Kuwait. In the end, we will deal with the beast in the east. They have learned so much since Kuwait, smarter, very few people were in the know. I cap it very important for the IQD. In my opinion, once they reach that cap, it will be allowed to grow past that. You have a responsibility, as good stewards of God, to get the best you can out of this blessing for God. He brought you into this, get the best fruits from it. You know the story of the talents. Be smart. Go by data, not emotions. Soldier up, onward Christian soldiers, lead with God. Be like a bank. A bank does calculations, study, go out on a limb, that's where the fruits are. Immediately after the RV starts, released, it will start the process of calculations of the IQD, calculate for at least 3 months. KTFA family, you are favored to walk in the courts of God's kingdom. The Dow hit 19,941.96 today. It's not at 20K yet. Kim Clement told us that when the Dow hits 20K, nothing, then suddenly something, that was 4 years. Kim knew the dinar was full of lies, but he told you to hang on to them. He also told us that Donald Trump would be the President of the United States. I am not a prophet, we are creations of God, and we can tune into God, but each person receives the signal differently. What your role with God is different than mine. Kim Clement impressed me, amazed me. I thank him for the time he spent with us at KTFA. The Dow is in a long line. Remember the long line, we should make a list of the things that were in the long line. In fact, you could put the Dow in that line, waiting for 20K. What is the Dow waiting for? 20K? Who manipulates oil prices? Is oil ready to hit 56? The CBI told 8 Islamic banks to sell securities, but we won't talk about that. An RI into an RV, example, the World Bank, what do you mean? They approved $1 billion deal, they describe Iraq as one of the richest countries in the world. So isn't it an insult for them to operate at a program rate? Did the World Bank distribute it to Iraq? Not yet. That is evidence of moving from an RI to an RV. The citizens are watching all of this. Iraqi's campaign, building confidence with citizens and Iraqi's banks, promotions, confidence, currency, backed by gold. No wonder the citizens are gaining confidence. When God put the four rivers together, that's what you have in Iraq. They know about the oil increase, gold, and rate going to increase. The program rate is punishment, and the punishment has come to an end. We started this CC, we'll end it the same way. The fuel for the budget. A forum member said that I was looking for 42 or 43. At that time I told you 60/120/60. 40 was to squeeze ISIS out of Iraq. Look at the deficit. 1-to-1, will wipe out their deficit. The 2017 budget now goes into the next numbers. It's time for them to pay their bills with the IQD. Economists are saying that Iraq needs to pay off their debt in dinars. As far as Monday goes, let's see what happens. My ponytail is about 2 feet long. And will be cut off completely by Delta. When I first met Delta, we talked about that. He asked when the RV happens if he could cut it off. End audio.